Oh, yeah. Everyone, I know where I'm looking right now. But yeah, everyone, because I'm not streaming today, so I'm feeling like I want to read. Like, I don't know, I just want to read a new novel that I just borrowed from my brother. So here we go. You can use me as a background noise or whatever, but yeah, this is uh this novel is the title is The Written by Ben Galley. I borrowed this from my brother-in-law and he said this one is a good series. So I'm giving it a go. Here we go. Chapter 1. It was snowing outside. The white flakes drifted lazily in the chill night breeze, dusting the rocky mountainside with an ivory blanket. Ice crystals flurried and spun, dancing through the cold air, skittering along the windowsill. By all rights. You know what? I'm gonna cut that. Chapter 1. When the sons of gods went to the daughters of man had children by their wombs, they became the giants of old, the Nephilim, men of renown and infamy, dangerous like wolves amongst the sheep, from the gathered prophets. It was snowing outside. The white flakes drifted lazily in the chill night breeze, dusting the rocky mountainside with an ivory blanket. Ice crystals flurried and spun, dancing through the cold air, skittering along the windowsill. By all rights, it was a foul night, for all fell. Tall spire rose like a forgotten nail from an outcrop of white buildings huddled together between the snowy crags. A lonely window glowed brightly through the whiteout. Framed by the yellow light was a silhouette of a wizened man, standing at the windowsill with his arms crossed. He fought back, yet not a yawn, staring at the snowflake lingering on his fingertip. He shivered, but stayed put, and pressed his warm palms to the rigid stone. After a long day of hard study, the weather was calming, cooling, and it had been a hard day indeed. Behind him, gathered around the desk, awash with papers and maps, sat a group of 4 aged men, each of them still poring over the small black book. It sat in its own circle of polished wood, isolated from the papery chaos surrounding it, alone and aloof. The room around them was cavernous, packed floor to the ceiling with bursting bookshelves, each one filled with an impossible mounds of paper and knowledge. Loose pages picked out from every crevices. Scrolls lay under chairs and side tables. Old maps, notes littered the floors and shelves like dried autumn leaves. One single candle, almost at the end of its wick, clung to life on the corner of the wooden desk, throwing yellow light and distorted shadows against the wall whenever the breeze toyed with it. What makes us so sure it is Siren? Asked the man at the window. He absently twisted a strand of his long white hair around a wrinkled finger as he reached for a nearby cup of warm wine. The wattled skin round his neck made his chin non-existent. Of course it is John. Just look at the scale of the front cover, replied one of the others, avidly. He waved his hand in a somewhat dismissive gesture. He coughed hoarsely, as if the cough had caught him by surprise, and then tapped a handkerchief to his lips. spectacles made from thin slices of rare crystal balanced precariously on his nose and a long beard, streaked with grey cascaded down his neck and chest. Dragon, no doubt about it, and one doesn't simply go around borrowing their scales for book covers. The group of scholars mused for a few moments. Where was it found again? Asked another, peering at his colleagues from under wiry grey eyebrows. The spectacled man spoke again. My God. Wait. The spectacled man spoke up again. No one knows exactly. Some village in southern Nelska, he said. And there was a silence. 15 years later, and only now do we get to study this manuscript. Who knows the incalculable value of the magic held inside this book? Said Inel, tucking his long blue robe around him. It was now too cold. He shivered as he pulled the stained glass windows shut without bang. He turned and sighed, leaning back against the stone steel and looking to the man with tiny glasses. The only real question is this: how do you get the confounded thing open? Have you had a reply from Crosslung yet, Inel? Scholar with the wiry eyebrows answered, No. No, not as yet. They're always late. He trailed off, distracted. He leaned forward to take a closer look at the book lying on the desk. It was small, no wider or taller than the span of a man's hand. Black dragon scales adorned the cover, overlapped and pressed flat, then trimmed to fit its square shape. Probably from an infant worm, thought Jern, as he let his fingers trace the ridges and dips of its cover. A thick gold lock, simple but sturdy, wrapped round the book's waist, sealing it tight. There wasn't a keyhole or opening mechanism inside. Ancient pages poking out from the edges were scored and dirty. John tried once again to split a few pages apart with a long yellow fingernail, but the book was locked fast, and not even the tip of a knife blade could squeeze between them. And after a rather dramatic sigh, entwined his fingers and reclined in his chair. The ornate wood creaked as he did so. Well, nothing's changed since this afternoon. The bloody thing's still locked, and none of us here possess the skill to unlock it or could even guess what smell might force it open. I suggest we just wait for... John was interrupted by the sound of heavy boots on stone. A loud voice made them all turn. Having trouble, wise men of Arthel? A tall figure stood in the doorway, hooded, with hands clasped behind his back. The newcomer walked from the door to the desk in just a few long strides and stomped the last bits of snow from his black leather boots. The scholars were startled to say the least, but as the man moved from the shadows and into the candlelight, they recognized a familiar face. The man threw back his hood, and a chorus of respectful smiles followed, even a few groaning, creaking attempts at bowing. Inel jumped to greet the man with a warm handshake, the wattle of skin beneath his neck wobbling like a turkey's. You mage, what an unexpected honor. With the weather and all, we didn't expect you or Aturan to arrive for another 2 days, he rattled. Tall mage kept his smile as he removed his hooded green gold robe and folded it neatly over an armchair. There was a long sword at his waist, sheathed in an ornate scabbard, and his expensive tunic was made of a fine emerald cloth, trimmed with white and gold. Do not be a ridiculous scholar. The weather has never stopped me, he chuckled. When we heard that you had uncovered a long-lost book of secrets, I decided no time should be wasted in coming to examine it. The man crossed his muscular arms and looked at each of them with hazel eyes. With hard, hazel eyes. Please, show me what you found. Miller retreated slowly to a chair. John rose, obviously eager to impress, while the others remained silent and seated, fingers entwined with their long flowing beards. It is mostly definitely Siren, your mage, as we thought, but this book is not from the time of the war. It seems to be very different from the other texts we recovered from the Dragon Riders. Much older, perhaps. Continue, said the man. John pointed to the gold of the black cover. It had a lock on the cover, and no key or keyhole with which to unlock it. Magical, clearly. We've come across this type of thing before, but this is too powerful and too ancient for our minds, or for the library mages. And so as of yet, we have been unable to read it. June shrugged, gazing wistfully at the little book, and it's our humble request. There was a moment of silence while a smile crept over the visitor's wind-burned face. Unusual for him. Perhaps I should take a look. His hazel eyes flickered around the circle. If I can get it open, can you translate it? One of the scholars answered, If it is legible, your mage, then we can read it. The scholars of Arvel have tackled almost all of the languages that Emaneska has ever spoken or written down. There's hardly a book we have come across that we couldn't translate. He spoke his words with a slow and constant nodding of his head. He was the oldest by many miles, grayer than a winter's day, and waiting patiently at death's doorstep. The others murmured their assent with a symphony of throat clearing and the scratching of chins and facial hair. Good. The mage strode forwards and flexed his hands. He loomed over the oak desk, humming, amusing, and making a sucking noise with his teeth. Scholars watched him think, looking between themselves with a mixture of intrigue and uncertainty. The mage muttered incoherently as he reached towards the book, his fingers rigid and outspread. A ripple of air pulsated from his hand like a wave of heat over a fire. A purple spark danced across the cover. This book is strong, he muttered within pursed lips. He seemed to be straining to keep his fingers spread now. His hand pulsed again, and he took a firmer stance, spreading his feet and gripping the edge of the table. More sparks fizzed over the cover, and then, quite abruptly, something inside the gold band clicked and smoothly rolled open. The scholars leaned forwards with open mouths, rheumy eyes wide in eagerness to see what the dark book held between its dusty yellow pages. The mage wiped a drop of sweat from his brow and smiled, clenched his fist several times, as if the magic had stung him. Read your book, gentlemen, he said. The older scholars wiped something from his nose and carefully lifted the scaly cover. With agonizing slowness, he bared its paper to the light and tested the crinkles with his fingers. He peered at the script. It's Elfish. Dark Elf, if I'm not mistaken. A very strange dialect. I haven't seen a text like this for years, said shakily. Elfish, an old language indeed, said the mage. It may have been the flickering candlelight, but it seemed to John that his eyes widened at the news. One of the oldest, your mage, he answered. The old scholar shuddered as he read onwards. He coughed as he turned page. It reads, The Testament of bringing. That word could also mean creating or summoning. John adjusted his crystal spectacles and peered at the writing. The mage turned to him, looking down his nose at the scholar. Summoning? John nodded eagerly, almost losing his glasses. Yes, the dark elves were capable of raising all manners of creatures from their wells of magic, as I'm sure you're aware. The scholar tapped the page. It is a manual of some kind, your mage. Here, warnings to occultists. Phil took up the lecture. The subject of elves was a passion of his. They could summon huge beasts from the darkest places of the world at the cost of a single spell. Eno went to a bookshelf and brought back a rare slice of tapestry covered with group pictures. It depicted battles with strange goblins-up animals and giant winged creatures with many horns, wearing what looked like to be golden crowns. I remember, muttered the mage, as he turned the tapestry to face him. The others looked up questioningly. I said, I remember seeing something like this before, in other books of old painting. In Crosslaw. Of course, your mage. John nodded, wondering if he had seen any such paintings in the Cathedral. There was an itch in his mind. It's a spell manual. Where are its keys? He asked, leaning over the book once more, casting it in shadows. John and the others all peered at the faded, glowing script. Keys could be found in every spell book, and any book without them was useless. They were the start of any incantation, the unlocking words to begin a spell. The old scholar turned a few pages carefully, where more runes were scribbled. For this spell? Well, this is very old spell indeed. Very powerful. He pointed to a few symbols hiding at the corners of the page. There, and the other there. These are the main words, mere, and here. Saying them in the other order, of course, would open the spell. I don't dare to read loud in its language. His voice cracked and his words trailed off into silence. The scholar's hand was shaking more than usual. It seems we have uncovered a very special book indeed. It must be over 1,000 years old. Maybe more. Ina pointed. This needs careful translation. Look, it seems to reference something called Thy Darkness Swallowed, or Mouths of Darkness. Yes, that's it. Over and over again, these 2 pages. Are you sure this book is not another fake? The man had a hungry look in his eye, looking at the scholars like a wolf standing over a huddle of grey-haired rabbits. His arms were crossed, but his voice was now low and dangerous. Eno nodded eagerly. Oh, it's very real, your mage. A dark elven summoning manual, if you ask me. It's dangerous, whatever it is, said John. That age had become bothersome, as if he lacked a candle burning somewhere. The man flashed teeth. How interesting this all is. He drummed his fingers on the desk absently. Well, it seems you have been most useful to me this evening. I'm sure Aiden will be as pleased as I am to hear this discovery. The older scholar rose shakily from his chair and bowed his head. Thank you, your mage. I will continue to study this manual with diligence. There is much more knowledge to be gained from it. And without you, sir, you would probably still have Locke's book. He smiled, and the other scholars managed a polite laugh. The air had become stale and thick. The mage laughed heartily, startling them as the noise broke the hushed atmosphere. And without you, old fools, I will have nothing. His smile was replaced by thin lips, and a silver blur. The mage drew his sword and slammed the blade into John's chest. He fell from the blade with a gurgling scream. The mage swung right, cutting through of the old scholar. Dark blood painted the books and pages scattered around the desk. Sparks of electricity danced around the man's free hand. With a snarl and a flick of his wrist, a bolt of lightning surged into the others, burning the clothes from their backs and their skin into charcoal. An acrid smoke filled the room. His business concluded. The man calmly sheathed his sword and lifted the black book from the desk, wiping the blood from its cover. He turned on his heel, picked up his robe from the chair, and left without another sound. John choked, spitting blood on the floor. He attempted to crawl, but found his strength ebbing away with every withering piece of his heart. He died, with his arms stretched out to the door. I think that's it. Yeah, I mean, it's not a perfect read, but, you know, I just like to read. So yeah, this is probably gonna be my new thing. So, see you. Bye guys.